Let us move on to item number 9.
Item number 9, proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month. Cami Bremer, Vice Chair, Board of County Commissioners.
Commissioner Bremer, please proceed.
Thank you. As I read this proclamation, if anyone who's here to speak to this wants to make their way down, that would be great. I hereby move the following proclamation recognizing Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas all of the more than 173,430 children in our community deserve to be valued, healthy, and thriving. And whereas finding solutions for child abuse and neglect, a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, requires input and action from everyone because of the well-being of our children today will shape the future of Colorado and our community. And whereas childhood trauma can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse and neglect. And whereas all parents and caregivers need support sometimes, and supporting all children and families early is far less costly to society and individuals than healing from trauma. And whereas parents, caregivers, family, friends, neighbors, employers, and others can work together to grow the 5 critical protective factors in families' lives: parental resilience, social connections, concrete support in times of need, knowledge of parenting and child development, and social and emotional competence of children. And whereas community leaders, policymakers, and elected officials play a unique role in building a community for children by understanding the programs and policies that support child maltreatment prevention, listening to parents' needs, and examining community planning through a lens that builds healthy communities. And whereas effective prevention efforts succeed because of partnerships created among human service agencies, public health, the district attorney's office, schools, faith and civic organizations, the medical community, law enforcement and first responder agencies, the business community, nonprofits, and concerned citizens. And whereas everyone can play a role in preventing child abuse and neglect, helping to build healthier communities so that families and children may thrive. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, hereby proclaims April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in El Paso County. No matter where you live, everyone has the power to contribute towards a brighter tomorrow for all children. Done this 19th day of April, 2022 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. Signed, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Stan Vanderwerf, Chair, Cami Bremer, Vice Chair, Lojinos Gonzalez Jr., Holly Williams, and Carrie Geithner, members, and attested to by Chuck Borman, County Clerk and Recorder.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us today and letting us join you in this very important proclamation. Child safety is a cornerstone to a strong community and one that El Paso County has embraced. I first want to thank the Department of Human Services, Children, Youth, and Family Services staff. These individuals eat, sleep, and breathe child safety. It's day in and day out. Depending on the day, the work can be joyous, rewarding, challenging, and I'm afraid heartbreaking, and sometimes all in the same day. They find themselves in dangerous situations, all for the safety of the most vulnerable members of our community. I also want to thank the other Department of Human Services staff that provide prevention services in the way of benefits. They're diligently working at their desks today with the same families and children. I can honestly say I've never seen a more dedicated group of public servants as El Paso County has. I also want to thank our incredible community partners that play a critical role in helping to strengthen families and keep children safe. You mentioned them in the proclamation. The community itself also deserves thanks. There are many professionals who are mandated reporters that report, but also community members report if they have concerns. Last year in El Paso County, almost 21,000 calls were made to the Child Abuse and Neglect Hotline. Not all of those turned into cases, but each call means that someone cared enough to make that call. I, of course, also want to thank county leadership and this board for your ongoing commitment to safety, permanency, and well-being of the children in our community. You have long recognized the importance of child protection and continue to support DHS staff, and we couldn't do it without you, so thank you all so much. And Christina has brought pinwheels for anybody that doesn't have them.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come down and speak? So Stacy, you're representing the whole group. No one else is coming down, huh? All right, very good. I'll bring it up to the dais here, and maybe the commissioners may have some comments they would like to share. And as always, we will close with our comments with Commissioner Bremer, since she read the proclamation. Other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Williams.
Yes, so as I was listening to the proclamation, I thought about a couple of interesting things going on at state government. So first, we have an attempt to make it so that young mothers receiving temporary assistance for needy families would be home more. And then we have the opposite attempt of the creation of a Department of Early Childhood Education to make sure our kids ages 3 to 5 are in preschool. And we know with the discussions around what our kids are learning between kindergarten and third grade, I'm not so sure that's a great idea. But to move on from something different, this is a very real problem. I have several friends who participated in the foster family system, and bless their hearts, that is one of the toughest things, I think, for someone to do. They would have a child for up to 8 months, and we stress that the child's best place is in the home with their parents, and so they would have a child for 8 months and begin to think that this was the child they were going to adopt, and then that child would end up back with the parents. But that's what we work for so hard. And these two individuals I'm thinking of in particular were just fantastic at what they did in having foster families and taking children in. I have another family I'm thinking of that essentially adopted a teenage boy when his family somewhat disowned him, and have just provided room for him and supported him financially in his decisions, even as he gets ready to go to college. I would like to end with a quote. David O. McKay said back in the 60s, "The home is the first and most effective place to learn the lessons of life. Truth, honor, virtue, self-control, the value of education, honest work, and the purpose and privilege of life. Nothing can take the place of home in rearing and teaching children, and no other success can compensate for failure in the home."
Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again for all the team here. You know, we know that children, they need and should feel loved and feel safe. And so all the work that continues to go on to help them is vital. And we want to make sure that we're there for them. We want to highlight to the community, we need you to be there as well, as was mentioned, you know, foster care, other options and avenues for supporting the youth and the children in our community. As has been highlighted, I think, many times, is, you know, and it's why we have the symbols, is that because we want children should be living a life, an early life, where they feel like children and can have those childhood positive memories of love and safety and security that too many of them don't. And so we just want to continue to highlight this and encourage our community to participate in any way they can to help our children locally. And again, it starts here as well with our team here. And thank you again.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Geithner.
Thank you. I think last year I made some comments about this that are a little personal as well, but some of you may not have heard them. So this is always a an important one for me because my husband grew up in a household where he was not well taken care of. And I have seen the lasting effects on him from that. And though he has coped and recovered in remarkable ways, there are always lingering effects of what it is like when you do not have parents who are sometimes not even capable of taking good care, in his case with some mental health concerns with his mom. But I do think that this is so important because we do know that our kids are absolutely the future and the joy of our nation, our community. So I always look forward to hearing this, and yet I have to always bring up to the balance of how these parents need support and they need help, and we need to always be careful, in my mind, to make sure that we recognize how important parents are and we give them the support that they need, that this is not an us against them. This is absolutely should be something where we are coming in and we are trying to help parents who sometimes struggle. I mean, parenting is hard, right? Many of us who have kids, we know how hard it can be. And if you are not in a situation where you are financially stable, or you yourself are mentally stable, or are in healthy relationships, it can be very difficult to care for others. So just so grateful for the approach that El Paso County takes with really taking all of that into account and making sure that we are doing everything to support whole and good family development, and recognizing the value of keeping families together whenever possible, and helping them to learn to thrive together. So I really appreciate this proclamation, really appreciate the attention to it, and certainly incredibly grateful for the work that is done in El Paso County. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And first of all, I'd like to specifically thank each and every member of the DHS team for all the great work that they do. And so many times it's a thankless job, but I am so glad you're there. You do an enormous amount of work that makes our community healthier, and you do that by answering calls, people that need help. You can offer them assistance, and that comes in so many different ways, and it's great, the work that you do to help our citizens here in El Paso County. And we all know that when families are strong, a job that never ends, but when families are strong, so many other problems are solved. With a strong family, the other risks are substantively reduced. The risks about drug addiction, the risks about crime, the risks about so many other things. When families are strong, these other things are much less of an issue. To me, it's always, I think, one of those key things. When we work to keep our families strong, so many great things can happen. And one of my personal favorites for the Department of Human Services, and it does relate to children, and that's the Center on Fathering. I think that's great. Sometimes dads find themselves in a place where they might be a single parent, and they might be at a loss or a little worried about how to raise their kids. Well, DHS can provide help there too, if anybody will call DHS that might need that. And I think that's really great. I think it's also fantastic that the Department of Human Services, our El Paso County Department of Human Services, works with a lot of organizations, works with a lot of the nonprofits, and that includes faith-based nonprofits. Because some folks in our community have an interest and a preference to work in that context. And we don't exclude any of that here in El Paso County. So my thanks to the Department of Human Services, my thanks to all the work you do to help keep our kids safe, to help our families be stronger. It's great work, sometimes thankless work, but I'm just so glad every one of you is there. And at this point, then I'd like to hand it over to Commissioner Bremer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for being very patient when this proclamation was delayed by a couple of weeks. Ideally, and the entirety of April is spent focusing on child abuse prevention. And I know that there have been other activities and whatnot going on, but thanks for your patience until we got to putting this on the agenda and here today. I understand that not all of our Department of Human Services employees wanted to make their way down, but I would love it if you would stand up and just let us thank you. And I see one of our partner agencies here as well. Angela, that's you. You're part of our team. We have lots of wraparound agencies that also do a great job of making sure that we can get our work done. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm going to also share a story that I have shared before, and Commissioner Gonzalez referenced the pinwheels and held his up, and that's kind of the national symbol of Child Abuse Prevention Month as a symbol of a whimsical and carefree life of a child. And indeed, all of us are somewhat mesmerized by, I see some of them brightly spinning here. So a few years ago, I took one of these home to my son, who was 3 or 4 at the time, and he got upset one day when he couldn't find it. I helped him look for it, and we found it crushed behind a toy box, and it was flattened out and a little bit torn, and a 3 or 4-year-old will get very upset at a found toy that's now broken and doesn't spin and doesn't work, doesn't function. And so I kind of patiently helped pull the pieces back together, get it to some working order, and it was really it was a real life parallel to, I think, what some children in our community and all over the country experience. And that's when what should be carefree and shiny and exciting and fun as a child is suddenly crushed through no fault necessarily of their own. And it takes diligence and supportive surrounding adults to help piece that back together, one little flap at a time. And that's just all of the people that I named in this proclamation, all of the different groups, parents, caregivers, family, friends, neighbors, teachers, churches, they all play a part in making sure that we can surround kids whose whimsical childhoods have been crushed and help put that back together. I too am very grateful at our local approach of really surrounding and supporting families who need help, for the prioritization on keeping families together. And certainly there are some cases where that can't happen, and too often those are the only ones we hear about. But there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes to help the support structures. And last week we read the I Inspire Proclamation. Many of those kids did not have the young and whimsical childhood that they deserved. And yet they've thrived through it, and every single one of them had a huge support community around them. And I'm very grateful that that's the approach taken here in El Paso County. So thank you all for your wonderful work. And, while we do this once a year, and April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, hopefully it will be in the back of your mind all year. And that that you can play a role in providing a support structure and a happy, whimsical childhood for all of us.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. I think at this point, we'll go ahead and proceed with the vote. And assuming that goes well, then we'll recess. I assume you all would like a picture. So, okay, very good. All right, let's proceed with the vote. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Geithner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations. And let's take a brief recess for a photo.